look at that'll tie us in the next in terms of the next game. Obviously, the own county on about Dublin there, like how obviously a disappointing day. It was very, very, very like the Tyrone game in terms of the way it started. Promised a lot in the first half, but then kind of died in the second. Early in the second, it was over within. Watched it again today. It was over after 40 minutes. Turning point probably was the kick-outs in terms of Mayo went long, couldn't get their hands on primary ball, mistake for the goal, and then Dublin were 7 points up, and it was good night. In terms of Mayo's transition, they transitioned very quickly in the first half, got up the pitch very quickly, 2-3 passes, score. Then the second half was just very slow and methodical. They couldn't build up. Look at Owen McLaughlin's missed goal as well. I know people will say it wouldn't make a difference, but look, think back 2021. You know yourself, Stevie, as good as anyone as a coach. Momentum, man. You need fucking momentum. And if Owen got that goal, it would have been 4 points in. The crowd would have got behind them. And who knows what would have happened. Because Pasquale, don't forget, in 2021, missed a golden opportunity to put Dublin 7 up. He didn't take it. And sure enough, Dublin came back, drew the game, and and won by 3 points at the end. Like, so, look, it is fine margins here, but look, Dublin were obviously well worth their victory in the end here. How do you feel? How do you feel about it?
The first half, I really enjoyed the first half, and I'll tell you what I actually took from the first half. The Derry Cork game was so slow and methodical, and and passive. And look, I called this in the show last week. I said Derry and Cork will be death by 1,000 cuts for Cork, and that's the way it was. It just felt like a slow death, just felt like look, we're just going to tease you, we're going to toy with you, but we're just going to beat you, and that's the bottom line, because we've got a bit more about us. We're further on down the line, and our game management is probably on a higher level than anyone. But the big standout thing for me from the Dublin game was the pace of the game early, and I thought it was a really high octane, high intensity game, particularly early in the first half. I thought there was some brilliant football played at times. I thought Mayo gave Dublin their fill of it in the first half. I actually think that Mayo probably left a lot of chances behind them in the first half, Enda. I know Dublin had a couple of chances themselves or whatever, but there was a big moment at I think it was 1-4 to 0-8. And Mayo had a goal disallowed. Now I was behind the goals in the canal end, so I couldn't see to the far side. But that would have put Mayo 4 points up, But Mayo sort of seemed to throw everything at the first half, and I felt there was maybe a sense of like, fuck me, we're 1-6 to 0-8 down here. How did that happen? How are we actually behind here when we've just thrown everything at them? And look. It was very, very evident. McStay touched on it as well from behind the goals, particularly in the first half. Actually, the goals that Dublin were playing into the press that Dublin put on Mayo's kickouts. It was a joy to watch. It was really, really impressive to watch, and it's just the size and physicality. So what they're doing is they're backing themselves out the field, and they're backing themselves out the field to we don't mind pressing you. We don't mind if you're going to go long here. We're not worried about what's behind us because we've got the physicality, the strength, and the experience. Like Scully's back in the team, wing forward, very, very smart wing forward, one of the most experienced wing forwards probably in the country. Has played the role for a long time. Brought Merchant back in to play in a man marking role. I thought that was a very, very good move. A man with blister and pace. His injury will be a loss for them. I just felt the experience that they had. They seemed to just have the bit between their teeth. McCarthy gave a performance in the middle of the field, a performance for the ages, a man who's soldiered for a long time now and who started his career probably at half-back and was part of one of the best half-back lines, in the history of the game himself. And Cian O'Sullivan and Jack McCaffrey had a little bit of everything in that half-back line. And he was in the middle of the field. Obviously, Fenton looked a wee bit better form, but for me, and the standout thing for me was, and I said it before, was the ball winning ability of their full forward line. But not just the ball winning ability of their full forward line, the way their full forward line can actually manufacture a score. So when they get those one-on-one situations, they're turning and burning. They're not afraid to take their man on. They're one of the best teams in the country at being really aggressive and brave in that 1v1 situation. So Colin O'Callaghan gets a ball, he faces up his man, goes to shoot, but just takes that bounce. and gives himself another 3-4 steps of explosiveness to get the shot away, and it's really impressive to watch. If you watch it in close nature, like the way they just compose themselves before a shot, but it's the ability that they have and the explosive power and the real dynamic nature of that inside line that makes them, for me, the favourites to win this All Ireland.
I thought, just touching on that, Stevie, I thought they kind of helped the defence from Mayo. Like, there was an incident in the second half which kind of summed it up for me in terms of Pasquale picked it up out on the Cusick side and around the 45-yard line. Like, Breen was on him, and literally it was 1-on-1 up until he got into close enough to 21-yard line into the D. Like, are you telling me? And you could just see everyone minding their own man there, like 1-on-1, and that's all well and good. Like, but geez, a bit of help defense wouldn't be, the guy coming back as a +1, or surely someone can get across it. Like, a man can't go fucking 40 yards there without a hand being put on him here. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, O'Hara as well. The first half got exposed by Pasquale, but again, he was left 1-on-1. I'd argue, look at Mayo weren't. I don't think they were getting a +1 at the back. Dublin, you could see Dublin getting a +1 at the back. I don't understand why they couldn't do that. Surely, with that, as you said, that full forward line, like even Mannion the last day, really shows his kind of. I'm going to say his growth mindset, where he's thinking about the game. He scored. Usually he comes in off the right with his left foot, but he checks back now. His 2 scores came off the right foot on his wing side. Do you know what I mean? So there's more room out there. So instead of coming in the left and coming in on his left, he checks back, and do you know what I mean? His so-called weaker foot, but you're getting more, a couple of seconds more out that side, like, do you know what I mean? So that just shows him thinking about the game. Pasquale, he's probably 28, 29 now. He's finally I've seen him in Dublin club football. He's been very, very consistent and very, very good for a number of years. So it's nearly a surprise to me it's taken him this long to kind of break onto the scene here. And as you said there, the boys that came on, McCaffrey, Kilkenny, Paddy Small, Dean Rock, like their fucking bench is back here, and that's the scary thing.
There's no doubt, Enda, that even the Dublin of old, that 1-3, 1-4 they scored just after half time, like it was like a 10-11 minute blitz. It was like a blitzkrieg, and look, there was a period in that 10 or 11 minutes where Ryan O'Donoghue had a free kick as well, that made it just steady the ship a little bit. Like, but those are massive moments. You have to really step up, and this is where we talk about, and I talked about earlier in the show, particularly in the National League, about the lack of a real top class marquee forward in Mayo, and that for me was the big thing. And that's the difference in the two teams when you have that ruthless nature. But that was the Dublin of old. Dublin were really. You think I always think back to that 2018 game. I can never get my head around this. Like, where Dublin are 5-1 down against Tyrone in the All Ireland final, and Tyrone are cruising. And this was a Dublin team at that stage that had created this air of invincibility around themselves. And I was just thinking to myself, manage the game, don't do anything mad now. And Tyrone were going that well that they kept going. And within, like, it just felt like a click of the fingers. It went from 0-5 to 0-1 to 2-7 to 0-5, and the game's over. And you're just going, what happened there, or where did that come from? And they did that very, very well on Sunday. That real 12-minute, 11-minute blitzkrieg, and it's straight after half time, and that's game over. And at that level, it's game over. You're not coming back from 7 or 8 points now at inter-county level. The way teams are conditioned with the game management of teams, the ability of the likes of the Dubs, particularly to manage the ball. Like, there was a brilliant moment in the first half where it got a wee bit chaotic, and Mayo had that sort of they turned the game into that sort of madness that they like to turn it into. And Fenton just came out with a hand up in the air. He just had the hand up straight away, and you just see we bounce, pop, 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 control the game, bang. 3 or 4 passes later, they've created a scoring opportunity. Just settle the whole thing down, and that's in the mental. That's obviously in the mental tank. They have that from obviously previous reigns under Jim Gavin and stuff. The press has been there from Jim Gavin's time as well, and obviously bringing in the likes of Pat Gilroy this year and stuff has obviously sort of beefed up the backroom team. So listen, this Dublin team are certainly back, in my opinion. And but look, it goes to show you the importance of this level too as well, the highest level. Massive emphasis on matchups, and massive emphasis. Now, matchups are dictated by a number of things, right? You're looking at the personnel you're playing. You're looking at the personnel you have, who's suited to who. So it's like the old adage, horses for horses. You're not going to put a small, fast, dynamic player like Owen Merchant on Aidan O'Shea. It's not going to happen, right? So Owen Merchant might mark a Ryan O'Donoghue. He's like for like, right? like you have to pick your matchups. Portugal O'Hara on Pascal was a horror show, an absolute horror show, and obviously that matchup, ultimately probably cost Mayo the game. And it did cost the foundations of was the foundations for the victory for Dublin. And matchups are obviously something that have to be discussed at great length during the week. Among the management team, based on what they've seen video wise, based on how they analyze the opposition, and based on what you have. So it just goes to show you as well, how important matchups are in the modern game as well, Enda.
But like one thing I will say, Stephen, there, like in terms you're on about the full forward line, the marquee forwards, like in fairness, like Ryan, I will kind of hit back or kick back there. Like Ryan O'Donoghue and Tommy Conroy were doing quite well in the first half. When I suppose we were on about the middle third battle before the week coming up to the game, like, and like I'd probably say like Reap's small bit of inexperience at the top level in terms of game management, where he kept going long in the start of the second half. He's four in a row. They lost. Like if they want, like obviously that was a ploy by management. They said to him to go long here. Well, if you're going long every time, sure as God you can overload one side here or get numbers around the break. They lost four balls in a row there, and basically Dublin kicked 1-2, 1-3 off that. Like so, that was the game. Like obviously, look at Ryan and Tommy. They've obviously they're still quite young. Like, but they were causing Dublin damage. In the first half, when we got some long kickouts off, when we're breaking even in that middle third battle. Now I don't know, was it the intensity levels that dropped, fatigue from the last three games in the bounce here, or as you said there, Dublin backed themselves. Finch and McCarthy were doing the matchups midfield here. Mayo have, like as we said, like Mayo have plateaued since the league final here. Their players around the middle third who were going 8, 9 out of 10 have dropped back to a 5 and 6 out of 10. So that was a major issue with that, and I'm probably a bit frustrated from it. Like
I completely agree. Like, listen, don't get me wrong. Ryan O'Donoghue and Tommy Conroy are brilliant footballers. Brilliant footballers. That's never in doubt. But I'm talking about that real out and out marquee man that does something out of nothing, will stand up, will win his own ball on a big day, will create something like a Clifford, like and I know they're few and far between, like, but
I know,
probably missed. You think of the influence Andy Moran would have had, or Killian O'Connor and his Plum would have, those sort of type of players, and I'm just thinking, maybe just hacking another forward up there that'll take the heat off, a Tommy Conroy or a Ryan O'Donoghue, who aren't the most physically imposing forwards either, and that's the big thing, so I think that's obviously something that they're going to have to look at over the winter. But for me, from my perspective, I'm going to be honest with you, and I slightly disagreed with Kevin McStay after, to be honest with you. I don't know what you felt. This has been a really good year. I don't think a county like Mayo, having lost a quarter final as comprehensively as they did against Dublin with such an illustrious management team behind them, I don't think that would have been a fantastic year. They were beaten in the first round by Connacht as well, by Roscommon, which is important to note as well. I know they won the league, but the league has probably shown us, particularly with the championship here now, that a lot of teams weren't motoring fully in the league, So I don't know what your take is on it. I don't know what it is, but I would be thinking that Mayo's expectations would have been a lot higher than maybe where they fell.
No, I agree. Look, I agree with you. Some people touched on it during the week. Like you can't. No, it was a. Let's be brutally honest. It was an absolute failure. Like if they maybe won Connacht as well with the league title, and Dublin nipped them at the post here, but they were comprehensively better, and they lost to Roscommon, Cork, and Dublin in the championship this year. So look, the league is the league, and I was kind of halting my kind of expectations. I wasn't getting overly excited with it because I know it's a long year. Even with the Kerry victory, although it was, obviously down in Killarney, it was a great victory. But look at the warning signs with Louth were there, and with Cork it was that as well, obviously. And look, I did say it, like, look, at times Dublin got people back, and especially in the second half, they slowed it up, they got people back, and because Mayo's transition was so slow, and Mayo breaking down that kind of blanket defence, they just struggle a lot, like, and you're on about the illustrious backroom team here, like, that's part of the job for them to go through in the training ground and get better at that, basically. So that's Kevin. Look, Kevin's gonna, obviously he's gonna be positive after after year one. But no, to me, it was, absolutely. Look, at the league is fantastic to win, brilliant. But look, at the end of the day, if they bet Cork, Kerry and Dublin would have been playing each other last weekend, and Mayo would have been playing Tyrone. So it's fine margins as well. They fucked up against Cork. Let's be brutally honest here. So they paid a dear price for it. And Tyrone and Mayo, Mayo would have had 2 weeks off. You'd hazard a guess that they probably would have bet Tyrone, and they're into the semi-final here. And then we're having a completely different conversation. So as you know well, Stevie, at that level, fine margins and that 15 minutes against Cork, fuck them basically.
Yeah.
Huh?
Small margins, yeah, absolutely small margins. Small margins. But it's unfortunately at the county level, it's a cutthroat industry, and fans, the likes, they want results.
Yeah, 100%, 100%. Look,